The comments and statements made within the show are the opinions of the commentators and their guests, have not been evaluated by the FDA, and are in no way attempt to diagnose, treat, mitigate, cure, or prevent any disease or illness. The contents of the show are not to be construed as medical advice. If you have a health condition or health concern, please contact a licensed, qualified healthcare practitioner.
Oh my, what have you found, Franny? Let's see what they say. Latest and greatest. You found more. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Excellent sleuthing, Fran. Fran, I think this is a new case for the Supplement Super Sleuth. Dig, Franny, dig! Time to go down the rabbit hole and see what we can find. Goodness, where are we? Aha! Take a look at this. Okay. All right, here we are. Hi, everyone. Supplement Super Sleuth here for our very next episode. This is episode 40. Sometimes I do one of these. What? It's episode 40? All right, I'm trying to do this podcast twice a month. And this podcast is all about sharing perspectives of natural health and healing. And I also interview key people and thought leaders in the natural healing industry to hear their knowledgeable perspectives to share with all of you. I have 4 different segments. I have Naturals in the News, where I share general information on brand new research posted on all types of health subjects. And My Favorite Things, where I spotlight an herb or a supplement with a deep dive into history, clinical research, and clinical use of that subject matter. And then Naturals in the Know, which we are doing today, where I interview key thought leaders and very successful holistic practitioners from a wide variety of disciplines. And finally, our newest segment, which will be airing soon, What's Old is New Again, where I share historical information on the weird, the lost, and the effective healings of the old timies. And lots of those are having a renaissance today in an updated version. So I'll be sharing all of that with you. So with all that said, let's begin. I want to introduce to all of you very dear friend, JP Wioncek. Let me turn this music off. This is the problem with having to do your own podcast. You have music going when it shouldn't be. Anyway, JP is quite certified. He's a fully certified personal trainer. His undergraduate was at Binghamton University in New York. He was on the lacrosse team there. He's Lacrosse All American. He's coached for 15 plus years. He's been a gym owner. He's a certified online personal trainer, which is really great for all of you who are doing online personal training. He's worked with hold on to your hats here, folks, 2,000 clients very successfully. He's FMS certified, which I have to find out what that means because I don't know what that means. JP, what is FMS certified?
That is Functional Movement Systems.
Oh, that's really cool. You've done that with me in the past, right? Yeah, yep. That's very cool. Boy, you find out what your weaknesses are pretty quickly, and your strengths, of course. He is an active life coach certified, USA weightlifting certified, powerlifting certified, mobility WOD certified, and CrossFit level 2 coach. So JP comes to this podcast with incredible background in personal training. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have JP on the show today was because I really believe very strongly that movement is medicine. So moving at any age is akin to all the things that we talk about in natural health and healing, getting fresh air and sunshine, eating a proper diet for your constitutional type. Herbs are superfoods, basically, and really paying attention to what you put in your body. So if it's garbage in, garbage out, right? And of course, movement being something that I have engaged in most of my life And at one short period of time, because I'm going to call it a short period of time, but actually it was a rather long period of time, I was almost robbed of my ability to move with a pretty extensive knee injury. And it was JP and his wife, Krista, who basically helped me back to um, a normal movement part of my life. So I wanted to share JP's wisdom with everyone because he's an amazing personal trainer. And a lot of people, I think, JP, a lot of people think that personal trainers are basically for athletes, or for hobby athletes. And so there's a lot of people who are not taking advantage of your wisdom and your care and your understanding of how to help people move better in their life. Because they think why would I need a personal trainer? All I need to do is go out for a walk. But I really want to help people understand what it is that you do across all the ages, because once you start moving, I think you start really in what I call senescence, which is the march towards death, right?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work with athletes. I have clients who are in their 70s and athletes, and I call all my clients athletes because if you're moving, I think you're an athlete. Like you should be. You might not look at yourself or identify as that, but I think everyone should be kind of, I think movement is medicine, like you said. And I've trained, I have a client right now who's in their 70s,
That's
and
amazing.
our goal isn't necessarily to get ready for a competition or a certain event like an athlete would, but I think like just prepping for longevity, and moving throughout their life, and staying out of the nursing home and keeping their leg strength and balance up. I think are all like very important for anyone, even for me. Like I'm currently training for longevity. I'm not currently training for an event right now. I want to be able to stand up on one leg when I'm 80 years old, or stand on one foot without having to hold on to something. So
Yeah.
I think like everyone should be reaching for those. And I think walking is a great, like you said, brought up,
I do
some
too.
people are just walking, but I think there's more that happens in your everyday functional life that you need strength for. And being stronger makes everything easier. So like, I think, you should raise your strength up in every aspect, of your body. And just makes like, what you're doing day to day, seem a little bit easier.
Have you always been really interested in movement and exercise as a way to gain health, or were you just like this crazy athlete and then it kind of developed into something? Because I mean, that's an incredible bio. And Lacrosse All American is that's not an easy goal to attain. So
Yeah, I started out moving. It was more of a release for me. So like more from the mental side of like, I grew up with learning disabilities, started, just exercising to burn energy off or run away from some emotions that were bothering me throughout the day. And then it turned into, having some talents and working hard and always trying to like improve the one thing that saved me from like injury was I always tried to move perfectly or move like with my good body mechanics. So I think like I always like took form and technique as like a pride, and knew that if I could keep good form and technique, like I'd have a longer career and be able to do it for extended period of time. You hear about athletes getting hurt all the time, so
yeah.
I was definitely conscious of that, and I think that turned into me helping people with their movement patterns and the way they move and their function, into my like career, as like a personal trainer and helping people just move better, enjoy life more. And yeah, I think meeting you and helping you, and then I think you're one of the people I would say that has the biggest impact on my career,
Oh,
from like perspective of like bringing everything in holistically. It's not just um, exercise isn't just exercise. It's what you're doing outside your life. What's your work? What are you doing for work, and how does that dictate your exercise? And how you're sleeping? How does that dictate your exercise? So you kind of opened up my eyes, not just for the exercise part, of all these different aspects, bringing it in, kind of like made me a much better trainer and also a much healthier person and athlete. So I have a lot, I compliment you a lot in my learning as well. So,
well, that's so interesting because I've always seen you as someone who really, you had such deep thought into your application. I met you, I was referred to you and your wife through a physical therapist because was having a series of knee surgeries. So I had 7 knee surgeries on the same knee in 8 years, and by the end of that madness, I could barely get up off the toilet. So and physical therapy helped kind of get me walking again, but I had lost so much strength and it was so one-sided that it was what you and Krista had put together for me and your encouragement to be able to get back so much more function. But I remember you helping me or saying, okay, we're going to do this functional life kind of assessment. And there were some things I was so one-sided from just adapting and trying to manage this whole left leg thing that it was really an eye-opener for me. And I learned so much about movement from both of you, things, because when I was younger, I moved. I was a ballet dancer, and I was a professional ballet dancer at the age of 12. And then, of course, that just creates incredible core strength, but I had no extremity strength. I just had these like spindly arms and legs. And it was everything that you and Krista had encouraged me to do was to build up my extremities and build up the strength of my extremities. So I learned so much from the both of you. And then we, of course, traded information about like recovery and what does recovery look like, and how does that affect people in movement and whatnot. But yeah, it's been an incredible professional relationship.
Yes, I'm definitely not a physical therapist. I wouldn't say I would be or recovering, but I love taking people from physical therapy and bringing them into function.
Yeah.
Just like for your case, like, okay, your knee is now no longer, it's not the small muscle groups that need attending to. It's kind of like, let's incorporate your core and leg and hip and ankle stability all into like, supporting that knee. And I would definitely say that you're a freak athlete, Nancy, because usually the case is no one has core strength. And their limbs, are stronger, but you're kind of
the opposite.
The opposite. It was incredible to see. Some exercises that we give, normally, okay, let's do this exercise. Like Nancy blew it out of the water because it's like she's only using her core to do it. I don't know how someone can lift their whole body with their core, but I was very impressed.
Ballet dancers can do that. That's how they gain height when they jump, and
right.
It's like all core.
Yeah, so I love taking people and kind of building them up. Obviously working on stability of their muscle groups, the balance, stability. I think like you talked about for you is especially like some neurological firing. Like if you've created an imbalance or had an injury in the past, like there is an imbalance in your body. You're trying to favor one side over the other.
Yeah, and you don't even know you do it. You really have no idea.
Yeah. I think you especially see that with older people who fall. They'll have a tendency to fall to one side because like they might be stronger on one side than the other. So definitely through the legs. I think foundation, legs, obviously cores, everything, and then building the legs up, and then having the function of the upper body. I think it's been a great relationship working with you and learning and helping each other out.
And we've been weaving kind of movement and herbalism together, like the concepts of old herbal medicine and how yoga got started and those kinds of things, Tai Chi and those kinds of functional movements that were developed as an arm of ancient herbal medicine. And so sharing that and kind of weaving it together has been really kind of an incredible experience because you have all this knowledge about what does it take to get somebody stronger, and what does it take to get somebody like overall balanced in all their muscle groups, core, extremities, movement forward, movement back, and sort of um, different forms of movement. And then I had information about, you know, um, this piece that I think a lot of people do. I mean, you're, you know, I met you in a CrossFit gym, which is an odd thing for me because I gotta never believe that I would ever be in a CrossFit gym. But I always had this question, like, all my life, even when I was dancing, can you over exercise? Is there a thing called over exercising? Because I know some people go every day to the gym and they just pound on themselves. And when you're young, your body self corrects, but then you end up paying for it much later in life without knowing.
Yes, I think I am or was a over exerciser. And I think it's always like, okay, if a little bit is good, why wouldn't be more be better? And you kind of gave me an analogy that I use to this day. And everyone only has so much battery life, and you only have so much battery life your whole life. So if you use it all up, you're not going to have any left for when you're older in outer sports. Like I was just so focused on sports when I was working out. But like I want to be, a good father and kind of be a good grandfather and like live my life longer. So like kind of conserving a little bit of that energy, and do it not just exercising to exercise, but having some of these like gentle yoga or Tai Chi to do, like it kind of recharges the batteries for me a little bit. But definitely overtraining, you increase injuries. You're gonna like your stress levels, your appetite changes, your sleep changes, and there's a lot of things that like, I was overeating, I wasn't sleeping, my body had a bunch of inflammation, and I've seen that it's helped me with my clients as well. I've kind of over the last few years, maybe since we worked together, I've almost dialed things back that I prescribe to my clients and give them a little bit less. I'd rather see the smallest dosage with the biggest results. So if 2 days a week you're seeing results, why do 3? Like you're seeing results, like more isn't always better. And even clients who work out 4 days a week, sometimes I'll bring them down to 3 days a week, or change the movements to be a little less intense. I don't think, doing more is always better. And I think always in the past, like, as a younger athlete, I was like, more is going to give me more results. And through your knowledge and helping me, like I think I've got my clients even better results by doing less, because there's so many other stresses in life. Like it's not just workout stress.
Yeah.
What do you do? I always ask my clients, what do you do for work? How do you sleep? Like there's other questions that I ask now that I wasn't in the past because wasn't looking from a whole approach, like that holistic approach. I was just looking from just one side. So
right. And I think when you're young and you're in high school and you're prepping, especially if you're doing athletics in college and you're looking hopefully to make that, that's like pie in the sky scholarship, athletic scholarship to college of your choice. I mean, that's pretty like, that's a big wish for a lot of people in the United States. And, the coaching is more and more, more and more, more and more and more. And it's very odd for me because I see children burning out as if they're in their 30s, burning out in the same way because they're over exercising and doing too much athletics and too much sport.
They say if you're the best athlete at age 12, you won't you're not going those are the athletes that burn out the fastest.
So I didn't know this. So there's like this ladder, like if you peak at between 6 and 12, you've peaked, and if you peak I didn't know that.
I think it has to do a little bit with the mental side of it, being the best at that age, and then seeing kids who, I think their bodies, everyone at different ages mature. So I think the kids who see the early success haven't matured in the body, and once they do, like kids are surpassing them in other aspects. But yeah, definitely, it's not the best to be pushing early. It's kind of, being patient with it.
Right. And it's kind of like thoroughbreds. You have to hold them back a little bit, right? And especially kids who have talent for athletics. It's almost like you want to put bridle and reins on them. I go, whoa, 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 whoa. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Well, life is long from here, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? The life is long. So you want to go the distance, always, because life is long, right? And and if you can't do your athletics into old age, you will miss it so much.
Oh yeah. I think as an athlete, you're kind of blind. Like you don't look in the future. You're like very much in the moment, which I think is a great perspective. But kind of like keeps you in the in sports you have to be in the moment. But I think you kind of lose out on like, hey, what's the rest of my life going to look like, and how am I going to be able to enjoy a hike or go to the beach or moving your body in that sense. So I think like the longevity aspect is very important.
So I've a couple of questions too, because I often get these questions from people, and sometimes I don't know how to answer them because well, I'm not a personal trainer. I believe very deeply in movement as medicine, and I really encourage people to always have a pro help them. A lot, we have a lot of DIYers, and I'm all about like, get out there and be proactive for yourself. But I do think it's really important for people to have a pro, even if it's once or twice a month, to check in with when they're doing something that's so crucial, such as movement, such as choosing your herbs, such as choosing a diet, whatever. You should at least meet with a professional or one or two to get professional opinions, because these are people who have trained and studied and have clinical experience. Like, you have 2,000 clients that you've worked with. You have experience that is worthy of people paying attention to. So some of the questions I have, other than is it, can you over exercise? And sometimes that sounds like a silly question, but I say it in a way of like, beware, you can over exercise too, because a lot of people get really wound up in it. Some people feel like they can't have a good day without going to the gym and really exercising. Now, if you're a fire type, which is one of the 5 elements, right? If you're a fire type, you need a really solid workout every day, and you have it in the tank for that, right? But if you're a metal person, if you're a water person, you need to exercise every day. You got to move, because water can get still and stagnant, and you've got to move that watery body. But if you're a metal person, you can overdo it. Well, metal people have very delicate nervous systems. They're highly anxious, and they oftentimes go out and become these long distance runners, or they do crazy stuff. And it's the worst thing for them, because they just break down so easily. So, there is definitely this whole, like, what kind of constitutional type are you, and how do you kind of fit that into that? But there are a lot of young women who also do this because they want to keep themselves incredibly thin, and so they over exercise, they under eat. There's a lot of that goes on, and breaks my heart, because it's, they have no idea what's going to happen to them later on in their 30s and 40s, because they've done that to themselves. But I often get it. So I get these crazy questions from my clients. They're not crazy. They're actually really good. One of the ones that comes up a lot, and I'm hoping you can shed some light on, is, what's the best time of day to exercise? Like, for me, sometimes I'll hear people say, oh, if you're weightlifting, you have to work out between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. I mean, I don't get it. So I was hoping you'd just shed some light on for me.
Absolutely. So I think, obviously in the morning, I think working out gives you an energy boost. So I would, if you, I think you should, that kind of helps you get throughout the day and sets you up for the right start. So if you're working out in the morning, you're probably going to eat healthy, making better healthy decisions because the way you started. I would always suggest to start in the morning. But there are a few people who, depending on what type of training you're doing, if you're doing more strength type training, you might feel stronger in the afternoon or looser, sometimes waking up right in the morning. So I tend to see people kind of like to do the cardio in the morning and then kind of lifting in the afternoon if they have the time. But honestly, it's what time you're going to be the most consistent with. So I wouldn't suggest doing it right before bed. I don't think that like kind of sets you up like to
Unless
sleep.
it's yin yoga or something
Yes,
really
like
gentle,
very,
like stretching or just motion, movement,
yes, very
tai
light,
chi.
easy. Like
Yeah.
I totally think those are great things to do. But if you're, doing some, I wouldn't do late night cardio or lifting. But I would definitely suggest like, it's where you're going to be the most consistent and what your schedule allows. But I think that morning time is great to kind of, you know, I always go for a morning walk, and then, for my schedule, it works out to lift a little later in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's where you're going to be able to, if I said morning, you can't wake up in the morning, then that's not going to be the best time for you. So it's very individual of, what they can handle.
Right. That's it's for, I guess for me, it was when I was younger, I'd get up, I'd stretch on the floor, I'd go to school, I'd leave school, go into Boston. So after school, I'd train and rehearse with Boston Ballet. And I'd never get home. Homework was on the public transit to
Yeah.
and from. I was really dedicated. I'd get home at between 9 and 10 o'clock at night and then go straight to bed.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of intense exercise, kind of late in the afternoon, and then traveling. So it was really, really tough schedule, for a young person. But I think now in my older years, I really like getting up and doing something in the morning.
Yes.
It just I just feel so much better for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
So it
And then
really
just kind of
works.
going back on a point before we had on that topic
Yeah.
was working with a professional. It's there's so much information out there. You can pull up articles about herbs and exercise, and there's so many different opinions. I think working with professional allows them to tailor it specific to you. So like
Exactly.
taking people's individual, needs and goals, and you know, if you type in online like want to lose weight, like that might look very vastly different for what your lifestyle is like at the moment. So I think like working with a professional like just allows you to take like your individual situation and apply like that we get to apply all our knowledge to that individual situation, not cookie cutter you into like an article that you read. I think is a great benefit to it.
I can't stress that enough. I mean, there are a lot of people who say, well, that's, I don't need a personal trainer because I can just go on YouTube and do a yoga class with somebody. But how do you know that you're doing the movements correctly? How do you know you're not going to injure yourself, right? How do you know it's that's the right exercise for you unless you've seen a professional like yourself,
And I've seen people, who I work with, and we do, squats or push-ups for the first time, a basic movement, and they were like, "Wow, I've been doing this wrong for this long." And like, think of how much effort it takes to do those movements, and then like, why would you want to be doing them wrong and not getting the results you want to be doing correctly? So like,
Right.
I work with clients, once or twice a month, and we just go over form and technique, and just so they know that they're doing the movement correctly. So if everyone could be exercising, you have two people working out right next to each other, one person's doing it incorrectly, one person's doing it correctly, you're going to see vastly different results. So just the
Yeah.
technique and the form, and then also the exercise selection, and there's so many different variables that
And changing your exercise, right? Isn't
yes.
that really important?
I think people,
Getting a rut.
yeah, I think the age group of like 45 to 60, I think people like, I used to do this in high school, so why wouldn't I do it now? And I think like, or like my dad, for example, is like, I followed Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is what he did, so
Oh
why
my
wouldn't I do
god. Wait, how old is your
it? He's like
dad?
65. So like,
we,
but like,
we love our parents, but oh my god.
yeah. So like, I think just, I think with your food, and I think every kind of
Right.
5 years, you should be changing what your goals are and how your
Right.
body's moving. And there's so many different variables that you have to be aware of. But I think like for me, I train vastly different than I did 5 years ago, and in 5 more years, I'm gonna probably be training different than I'm training now. And I think you always have to be checking up and making adjustments. And I think your body gets very used to I run. It's like, okay, well, you've kind of peaked out on what your body can do running. Like, what if you did some strength training? And when I say strength training, it's more the smaller muscle groups, the imbalances, the injury prevention. Like people think like, oh, I don't want to have big legs to run. It's like, well, you still need to work those muscles like in a different movement pattern. I think changing the movement patterns up. Like I always ask people what they
Really
did previously, because it's like, oh, I've run for the last 10 years. It's like, okay, well, let's try swimming, or let's try these different exercises that are going to help you, strengthen, and enhance what you like to do.
exactly.
It is always very important.
Yeah, that's really good. Um, kind of in the trenches knowledge, JP, because and I think that's one of the reasons why it's really important to get a personal trainer, no matter what age you are, and no matter where you are in your movement abilities, because we're our our trainers, and our herbalists are going to ask us to do things out of our comfort zone because it's good for us and it will help us enjoy our lives more and get more from the health that we are looking for, right? So
Yeah.
I think that is just right. If someone said to me, when I was dancing, Nancy, you have to get in the pool. I would have looked at them like they were out of their mind. No, 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 I'm a ballet. But it probably would have been the perfect thing for me, right? To completely switch it up, right?
I think you always learn the most from the discomfort. I think, working with you and, you helping me with my food and, my recovery, it's like those make me feel very uncomfortable, like the start, but I see like so much results from it. And I think
Right.
people just don't like to feel uncomfortable. It's like, oh, let me try something new. Like I like the routine I'm doing, but that routine could be so much more effective if it was, adjusted
That's a
accordingly.
good way of saying that. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so another big question. So you're not in Massachusetts anymore.
Yes.
And so you do a lot of long distance. How do you do that? Because I know you have a really progressive assessment protocol that you do. How do you do that virtually? Like, I'd love people to kind of hear how you manage it, how you see people, how you help them with movement if it's not in 3D and you're kind of on the what are the things that you do to really make sure that you're seeing the person, um you know uh and their imbalances correctly, and that you can actually help them during a workout if you're not in the room with the person.
Yeah, I think I definitely leverage technology. So I kind of have two tracks. One would be similar to we're in video right now, so this would be like a Zoom or a FaceTime session, and I'm having to go through. If I'm first time working with someone, I have them go through an assessment that I can visually like have them turn to the side or do different movements, different positions. It kind of gives me a good idea of like where their imbalances are and what they need to focus on, and I look at their body type and where they hold their weight and where their strengths and weaknesses are, so I can see a lot. I think that's taking years of in-person training to do. Like I have just so much experience seeing people move,
Exactly.
and then I also have people send me videos of them doing the movements. So I do sessions online. I do assessments, and then also I train people over video. And those are the people who are, just starting out to working out, where their form and technique is very important. And then, if you're dealing with an injury, hey, here's some exercises to go through,
Right.
where the technique is very, ideal. And then I also have a track where I use an app, and this helps. I enter the workouts in, and this is there's videos of the workouts in there,
Yeah.
but a little more of a training understanding. You've been training more than 2-3 years, and you feel comfortable in a gym or at home. And there I can track the results of the workout, how much weight they're using, how many reps, and then also I can track their food and their energy
That's nice.
levels. So it's a great eye to the client, and I can help them be consistent and add motivation as they go. So it's different. Like I can only handle so many people if I had my
Yeah.
own brick and mortar building.
Right.
Uh, I can only probably see X amount of people a day.
It's true.
So it allows me to like help more people, which I love helping people. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
So helping more people, and then giving them more of my time as well, because if you can only work out at 6 o'clock and I have a client that time in person, we're not going to be able to work together. But,
Right.
if you enter your movements or do your workouts, just allows them to have more flexibility in their schedule.
Yeah.
Using the app. So I think,
And then if you see they're not progressing, you can kind of pull them out and say, you and I need to do a one-on-one or that kind of thing, where you're just like,
I love,
yeah,
I love the people I work with, just like you do. I know you have
me
a passion
too.
for everyone you work
Oh,
with.
I
So
love
like,
my
I'm,
clients so much.
I'm
Yeah.
probably constantly like messaging them or calling them, hey, how's your workout today? Like, hey, how's your food going? Like, did you drink enough water? Like,
Right.
like people I work with is family to me. So like,
Right.
I definitely, probably could work with more people and care less, but that's not my style. Like, I'd rather work with a good core of people and, bring them in and help them along the way. And I was even like giving my, as you do to me, like I was giving my clients books to read. Like, hey, I have like almost a book club. Like, hey, read this book and then read this book. Like, just to help them with their knowledge and like, see,
Yeah.
bring their, like, I love, bringing people along with their knowledge and ability. Like, I don't want to just like keep them in one spot. I want them to grow. So
You are a very special personal trainer, JP. You are unique. I mean, there are so many personal trainers out there. It is a sea of people, and they
yes,
pretty much create this thing, and they kind of create this thing, and they just say do this, and they don't really have the kind of contact that you have. You personalize. You have an assessment protocol. That's huge, right? If you go see a professional and they don't do an assessment, go find somebody who will. Like you, I
yes,
mean, it was amazing to me when both of you did the assessment with me. I just was blown away. I'm like, wow, they really want to know what's going on with my body and what are my true strengths in every aspect of motion, not just how many pounds can I lift, right? And how
right,
flexible am I? Because I still at 58, I can still do a full split, and I can still put my foot behind my head. I mean, I
very,
really
very
have
flexible.
ballet flexibility, right? My whole life, I've kept it up. I work on it every day. It's something that I do. If I can't do anything else, I get on the floor and stretch, right? So, but there were all these other pieces that I had no idea. I learned in one assessment with you. I learned so much about my own body. I was blown away. And it's so funny because it's not like you're the first personal trainers I've ever worked with, but you have an incredible system that I'm really encourage people to find people who have assessment protocols. Like I have an assessment, I do an intake, and it is intense, right?
Yeah,
There's so much about how, the questions I have and the tongue and the pulses, and then, looking at, I have other kinds of ways that I measure and assess in my practice to really get at, where do we go from here and how do I really best help this person? So I think it's really important. I think that's what sets you apart from so many personal trainers is your assessment, your attention to detail, and how you design a program for each and every person. I mean, yes, there's a general program, but your ability to modify for each person, knowing your people so well, is exquisite. It is. These kinds of things are dying, JP, in our world of virtual, right? Of
yes,
everything is recorded and nothing is live and nothing's in person. But even with the long distance, you maintain this. I still need to know. I still need to assess you. And I work the same way. I think it, we're humans, and we have similarities, but we're all individual and we're all in different stages of our life, and we have different histories, and all of that adds up to what is it that makes us different, and how do we care for these incredible vessels that we're in, our vehicles for
yeah,
our life, and they need to move, and you know how to move them.
yeah. And I think, I love doing the individual because I think the industry of personal training is very cookie cuttered,
Yeah.
and it's getting a lot of, just about getting a lot of people. But like a lot of the questions I ask and, the decisions I come to, like you've helped me along the way, like of asking the kind of those, bring everything in together. And, so I have like thank you a ton. And I think it's helped me, even in my programming to help, it's not just like who that person is individually, what they do outside, and kind of bringing all these different aspects in to, make a specific program. And then I constantly change the program. Like it's not, similar to you, if, someone's struggling with a certain food or an herb, like, let's change it. Like, it's not like, hey, stick this out. Like, oh, you're stuck with this for 4 weeks. It's like, I think I change programs every, like, hey, this is my shoulder's bothering me this week. Okay, let's switch this out. Or, you're constantly making changes. And I love, helping my clients with that.
It's just terrific. I really encourage anyone who's listening to engage with JP and engage with a personal trainer who has, if you can't get into JP's practice. So I feel so sorry for all of you. But I really encourage people to reach out to him and just have an assessment and, you know, um, be a part of his community because JP is doing something that is so different from the cookie cutter personal training that's going on out there. Less injury. Um, I think happier outcomes. Like you just start feeling so much better about yourself. I mean, I'll never forget. I mean, when you finally moved, shut everything down and moved. I just said, I'm stronger now in every part of my body than I've ever been in my life. And I'm kind of in the mid part of my life. So it was weird to be able to say that. Like my upper body strength went from 0 to like, I could do a pull up, it was like amazing to me. It was a huge goal and I wanted to do it. And you guys got me there. And, it was great, really great. So,
yeah, no, we're you could reach out. Even if I'm, not the right person for you, I'd love to just do an assessment and help anyone that I can. And even getting them in the right direction of, where they need help. So please reach out to me. And I'd love to help anyone I can.
And what would you say to our listeners today, like just as a last piece about movement as medicine? What would you leave these people with as we come to the end of our episode 40 here?
I would say just movement is key, moving properly and, your body's meant to move. There's certain human movements that, everyone should be able to do. They should be able to squat, hinge, push, pull, carry, drag. Like these are things that your body's built to do. So, like definitely utilize all the functions of your body. And it's an incredible machine and take care of it. So those would be the things I'd focus on.
I totally agree. That's so great. Okay, everyone. Well, I want to thank JP Wioncek, who is our special guest today on Naturals in the Know with Supplement Super Sleuth. And if you're wondering who I am, if this is the first time you're listening to a podcast, I have a complementary and alternative health and herbal clinic for more than 30 years. Actually, I'm on 33 years, focused on difficult to treat conditions. And also, I've been a spokesperson and educator in the natural products industry. Feels like a lifetime ago, but I did about 25 years walking around the world, teaching and training on herbs and supplements. You can connect with me in person by going to my website, www.watersedgewellness.com, or by reaching out to me through my social media sites on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. On TikTok, it's called Herbal Answers. So that's a place to go. I'll be doing this podcast 2 times a month, hopefully, with enough energy in the tank, as they say, sharing perspectives of natural health and healing and or interviewing key people and thought leaders in the natural products industry to hear their knowledgeable perspectives. If you want to reach out to JP, we'll be posting his website and contact information on this podcast. Just click on the link and we'll send you off to JP. And if you don't mind, please subscribe to and like my Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, blah, blah, blah. I guess they could just call that social media now, right? I don't have to list them. It's all social media. All right. And again, you can find me at Water's Edge Wellness or Herbal Answers. please share our podcast with interested friends and family. Let us know if there's something you'd like to hear me talk about, or find thought leaders on by adding comments on any of the social media sites. And with all of that, I want to say, take good care of yourselves, and I will see you really soon.
Well, Super Sleuth, we've conducted a very thorough investigation of this case, and we've learned a lot. Fran, you can show us the way home now. What are you doing? Fran, you're amazing! We're home! Tune in again for the next Supplement Sleuth adventure. Take good care, and Fran and I will see you soon. Say goodbye, Fran.